Colorado schools face funding crisis. Millions still frozen as contingency plans begin. Imagine Colorado classrooms hanging in limbo while millions in crucial education funds remain frozen, putting student programs and teacher salaries at risk. That's the crisis unfolding right now as school districts brace for impact just weeks before classes resume. But here's the twist. While a partial lifeline emerged, the battle over these funds reveals deep political fault lines affecting real children's futures. While some Colorado school districts tap into emergency reserves to safeguard staff positions and maintain student programs, others remain in agonizing uncertainty. They're waiting to see if Washington will release $76 million in frozen federal grants, a decision delayed despite expectations that $13 million would arrive by Monday. This partial reversal means after-school and summer initiatives through the 21st Century Community Learning Centers program will continue for now, serving vulnerable students across the state. By Monday night, Colorado's Department of Education still hadn't received formal authorization for even these reduced funds. For context, Denver Public Schools anticipates $3.2 million back, while Adams' 12 five-star district expects $852,000, money desperately needed to sustain academic support like reading or writing tutoring, robotics clubs, soccer programs, and nutritious snacks for 800 students at 6 high-poverty schools. The temporary thaw came abruptly after 10 Republican senators sent a letter to President Trump's budget director demanding the release. They argued blocking funds contradicts Trump's own goal of returning education control to states, and here's where it gets controversial. While acknowledging concerns about radical left-wing programs, the senators insisted these particular grants fund universally popular initiatives. These are bipartisan programs enabling parents to work while kids get enrichment, not political projects. Yet the U.S. Department of Education now demands civil rights compliance reviews of grantees, using newly reinterpreted laws that actually prevent schools from addressing educational inequalities. And the bigger crisis remains. Over $60 million stays frozen, gutting teacher training, arts or STEM programs, support for migrant children, and English learner resources. As Education Commissioner Susana Cordova warned, without these grants, we'll see devastating cuts to the very programs that give every child, regardless of zip code, a fair shot at success. This freeze isn't isolated. The Trump administration shocked states on July 1st by withholding $6 billion in congressionally approved education funds nationwide, $76 million for Colorado alone, representing 13% of the state's federal education budget. In Adams' 12 schools, this means $2.1 million remains inaccessible, paralyzing middle school literacy programs, gifted student support, career pathway initiatives, and math instruction upgrades. Superintendent Chris Gdowski describes the freeze as equivalent to 20 teacher salaries. We're using reserves now, but that's unsustainable. Without this money, we'll eventually cut buses, technology, and crucially, teachers. Denver Public Schools echoes the concern, noting any long-term reduction means fewer services for students. And the damage spreads further. Adult education programs for workforce certifications got eliminated entirely. Meanwhile, the White House's 2026 budget proposal aims to permanently kill or consolidate these very programs. Here's a point for debate. Colorado joined 24 states suing the administration over the freeze, with Governor Jared Polis accusing Washington of playing politics with children's futures. This lawsuit follows another Trump administration move that revoked $1 billion in mental health grants, costing Colorado a $1.5 million program addressing its critical shortage of school psychologists. So we're left with urgent questions. When elected officials admit these programs aren't politically extreme, why withhold funds already approved by Congress? And at what cost to students in high-poverty districts? Some argue it sets a dangerous precedent for weaponizing education budgets. What's your take? Should states have more protection from partisan funding freezes? Join the conversation below. Impact of Trump's education funding freeze in Alaska. In a concerning turn of events, Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican Alaska, is expressing her fears over the Trump administration's decision to freeze billions of dollars in education funding, a move that could potentially lead to school closures in her state. The freeze, initially affecting a whopping $6 billion, has far-reaching implications, impacting after-school and summer programs, as well as classes for adult and English learners. While the president recently released around $1 billion for after-school programs, a significant $5 billion remains on hold. This freeze has already forced some districts to make tough decisions, including school closures in Fairbanks and Anchorage, and layoffs. Murkowski's concerns are not unfounded. She points out that weak literacy skills and English language proficiency can hinder individuals from entering the workforce, a situation that contradicts the current push to get more people employed. Along with 8 other Republican senators, Murkowski signed a letter to the Office of Management and Budget last week, demanding the release of these funds and refuting the administration's claim that the money is being used for woke programs. The letter did prompt the release of about $1 billion for after-school and summer programs, providing some relief to parents. However, the rest of the funds are still in limbo, with no clear timeline for their release to schools. Senator Shelley Moore Capito, Republican West Virginia, who led the Republican letter, echoes Murkowski's sentiments, expressing her desire to see the other programs unfrozen. While Murkowski is reluctant to label this as a cut, she emphasizes the urgent need for the funds to be released before the school year begins. This situation raises several questions. Is the freeze justified? Are these funds indeed being used for woke programs? And most importantly, what will be the long-term impact on education and employment if these funds are not released? These are questions that demand answers, and it's crucial that we continue this conversation. Alaska school districts sue U.S. Department of Education over funding freeze. The situation unfolding in Alaska's education system is both urgent and unsettling. Multiple school districts have taken the rare and serious step of suing the U.S. Department of Education over a massive freeze on federal funding. But here's where it gets controversial. This freeze affects not only large urban districts but also tiny rural ones where the impact can be especially devastating. 3 Alaska school districts, the Anchorage School District, the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District, and the Cuspbuck School District, joined a lawsuit filed against the Department of Education on Monday. The lawsuit was submitted to the U.S. District Court in Rhode Island and includes a total of 14 school districts, teacher unions, and education associations across the country, all represented by the nonprofit advocacy group Democracy Forward. Anchorage and Fairbanks represent the state's 2 largest school districts, serving tens of thousands of students. Meanwhile, Cuspbuck, a much smaller district with only about 320 students spread out across 9 schools over a vast 120-mile area in western Alaska, is also part of this coalition. The inclusion of Cuspbuck highlights a crucial point that often gets overlooked. Even small rural communities rely heavily on these federal grants, sometimes more critically than their urban counterparts. The dispute centers around the Trump administration's decision to withhold more than $6 billion intended for education funding, affecting programs such as summer school activities, targeted support for English learners, and crucial services for families working in industries like agriculture, fishing, and logging. Dr. Jarrett Bryant, the Anchorage School District Superintendent, described the freeze as causing deep instability for schools that depend on this money to plan effectively and uphold their commitments. He emphasized, districts like ours cannot responsibly plan or meet obligations when long-standing federal funding is suddenly withheld without any warning. On the other side of the spectrum, Cuspbuck Superintendent Dr. Madeline Aguilad underscores how these funds are a lifeline. As a regional educational attendance area, REAA, Cuspbuck lacks a traditional tax base, making it entirely dependent on state and federal support. The grants they receive fund everything from summer programs to teacher recruitment to emergency communication systems. Without this funding, Aguilad warns, students lose access to amenities that many in urban areas take for granted, like gyms or libraries. We don't have backup facilities for students to go to,